Uh, well, I figure it's about time I make another update for anybody out there who still might want to know. Um, I don't remember the last time I made one. It's a long time ago, it feels like. I think I was still staying at the abandoned prison that I found in the woods. I did get thrown out of there. Um, they were building a facility next to the abandoned prison property. Turns out it was a National Guard armory, and the colonel didn't want a homeless person staying in the adjacent property. I guess he said it was a liability, whatever. So the detective who was allowing me to stay on the property had to come by and tell me I had to leave. So, which I was really reluctant to do because I still didn't have the tag for my truck because the police confiscated that and never told me why. They also confiscated my driver's license, never told me why. So I knew as soon as I left the prison in my truck that something was going to happen. I mean, it was only a matter of time before I was pulled over or something and I would lose everything again. So I was really reluctant to leave, but I left. And then something did happen. Something absolutely insane happened. I was driving down the street. Uh, I think I was heading to a Walmart, Pyramid Village, and this SUV was getting off of the interstate, and there was an off ramp, and I was 4 lanes over on the other side, driving to get into a turn lane, and this SUV just got off the on ramp and just cut straight across 3 lanes. Just no blinker, nothing. Just cut across 3 lanes as fast as possible to get into the lane that I was in. Unfortunately, he must not have seen me, and he sideswiped me. He hit me so hard that he knocked me over the median and into oncoming traffic. He hit me so hard that he knocked me into the passenger seat of my truck, and I was struggling to correct it. I just jerked the wheel. I think I hit my head somewhere in there. I I broke my wrist, but I reached up. I grabbed the wheel of the truck and I just jerked it towards me just to try to get it out so I wouldn't get hit head on by another car. And I ended up hitting a road sign that was in the median, and that's what stopped me eventually, finally. Um, yeah, and I think I was unconscious for about 30 seconds or so. I woke up and I just heard people outside of my truck screaming, "Get out, man! You got to get out! There's gas! There's gas leaking! You got to get out!" And my dog was freaking out, and so I grabbed him and um, we had to kick the side door open, or we had to kick the driver door open. It wouldn't open, so I had to kick it open. Finally, I was able to kick it open, and me and the dog, we got out and got clear. And there was a sheriff's deputy standing in front of my truck when I got out, and I thought to myself, that was pretty quick, wow. And I said, "Hey, thank God you're here." I was like, where's the SUV?" And the officer said, "What SUV?" And I was like, "The one that hit me." I was like, "I was hit by a silver SUV," and I looked up and I was like, "It was that one. Was that the one?" And he's like, "No, no, no, no. That's my SUV." And I was like, "Okay, well, where's the one that hit me?" I was like, "What happened to it?" And he's like, "You got hit by a car?" And I was like, "Yes, I got hit by an SUV, a silver SUV." And as I was walking around, as I was saying this, I was walking around to the other side of the truck to see the damage and whatnot. And that's when I looked over at the SUV that was parked across the street, and I saw the giant dent in the side of his SUV. And I was like, "Wait a minute, that is the SUV that hit me." I was like, "You're the one that hit me?" And the officer just put his hands up. He said, "I don't know, man. I just saw you flying into oncoming traffic, and I pulled over to stop to help." And I'm like, I was like, "Okay, well, you know what? Don't worry about it." I was like, "Because I just installed dash cameras on my truck last week, and I have 3 different angles, recording at all times, And so I was like, don't worry about it. I'm sure I got it all on video, what happened. And he just froze. He just turned white, ghost white. He was just frozen. And he looked at me. He's like, you have dash cameras? I was like, yeah. He's like, on that thing? And I'm like, yeah. I was like, I got 4 different angles. I even got a rear view camera that I installed. And he's like, oh, that's great. That's really great. And he gave me a thumbs up. And I was like, yeah, it is great. At this time, I just looked out into the highway that I just got thrown across, and everything I owned, all my belongings, everything was just strewn across the interstate. Was just strewn across the highway. I mean, cars weren't even stopping. They were just driving over all my stuff, my tools, everything, my laptops. I mean, just everything was just destroyed and strewn across this highway. Finally, a guy in a Mustang, a blue Mustang, stopped in his lane and stopped everybody behind him. And then he got out and he started helping me pick everything up out of the interstate, off the highway. And he just started piling it up for me on the side. I was pretty banged up. I was having a hard time walking. My wrist was definitely broken. My back was fucked. My neck was fucked. I mean, it was pretty bad. So I'm trying to help the guy pick up my own stuff, but it was hard going. And this was within city limits of Greensboro, making it the Greensboro PD jurisdiction, I would think, but after I told him that I had a dash camera and I had footage of the accident, it wasn't even 2 minutes maybe, and I had 4 more Guilford County Sheriff's deputies just fly in. I mean, it's almost like they were out of nowhere. And every single one of them walked up to me while I was in my truck and said, hi. And they, fiend, like, are you okay? Is everything, are you hurt? Paramedics are on their way. We hear you have dash cam footage of the accident. I was like, well, yeah, I do. They're like, well, do you mind if we see that? And I said, well, it's on a flash drive right now. And, it's, I can't really just oh, no, don't worry. We could take it back to our trucks and put it in our computers and watch it if that's okay. And I'm like, that's not okay with me at all. No. I'll tell you what, when Greensboro PD gets here, since it's their jurisdiction, I was like, I can take the SD card out of the camera and I can plug it into my phone, and we can all stand around my phone and we can watch the footage while the phone is in my hand. And he's like, yeah, that'll work too. I was like, okay, because that's the only way anybody's going to see it. So I hope it works for you. And that's exactly what I did. And I mean, you should have seen their faces at the point of impact. This officer didn't have his lights on, didn't have a turn signal on, didn't have his sirens on, nothing. And he just came across 3 lanes of traffic, almost horizontally across the highway, and slammed into me so freaking hard he knocked me over into the other lane, the other side of the highway. And you should have seen the faces on all these deputies whenever they saw the impact. They were just like, oh God. I mean, it was this like cringe face. I mean, they knew that, their buddy was at serious fault for this accident. Paramedics got there and they asked me if I wanted to go to the hospital. I said, I can't leave my truck. Everything I own is in it. And if I leave it here, it's going to get towed and I'll never see it again or any of my stuff. I was like, I got to get my truck somewhere safe before I can go to the hospital. And they're like, well, okay, figure out what you want to do. And I was like, well, I can't go with you guys to the hospital. I got to figure out a place to park my truck. So they left after checking me out, and with a promise that I was going to the hospital as soon as I got my truck out of the highway, off the highway. To my unbelievable surprise, my truck actually started and drove. The officer, the Greensboro PD. That's another thing. Only one Greensboro PD officer showed up. There were lots of law enforcement there, but only one Greensboro PD officer who was handling the accident, which was mind-blowing to me. So I was talking to him. He wrote a citation to the deputy. His name was K. Purvis. Deputy K. Purvis is the one who hit me. So the officer wrote him a citation, and he asked me to see if my truck would start. I started my truck up, and he actually followed behind me because I had no light. All the lights were busted out of my truck. I mean, the bumper was hanging off. I mean, everything. It was pretty bad. So he followed behind me until I got it into the Lowe's parking lot, which was across the street. And I asked him if he would go inside Lowe's and ask if I could keep it parked here for a while until I figured out what to do with it. He said, yeah, so he did that for me. It was very nice of him. Yeah, so I mean, I just not knowing what else to do or anything after that, after the officer left, and it was all over with. I drove to the hospital. I kept driving the truck. I got in touch with my insurance company. I had Progressive at the time, and my insurance company, when the paperwork was filed and they realized it wasn't my fault, it was the officer's fault, they put me in touch with the insurance adjuster for the municipal insurance company, whatever. And I spoke with a guy named Liam. Have been speaking with a guy named Liam for a while now. He sent out another adjuster to just analyze my truck and find out what they wanted to do. They ended up totaling it, obviously. And then for the entire accident, everything, all said, property and everything, all my stuff that was destroyed, my entire life in this truck, just completely obliterated. He offered me $2,800 for everything. I was like, no. I was like, that's not happening. In the meantime, though, it took 2 weeks for him to get somebody out there to analyze my truck, to give an assessment on my truck. And in that 2 weeks, I was just begging. I was like, can you guys please get me a rental truck or a rental car, anything. I was like, so that's something that I can put my stuff in, something that I can stay out of the weather in, because I'm homeless, I didn't have anywhere. I don't have anywhere to go or anywhere to stay out of the rain, and I had my dog and everything. And I was like, can you guys please get me a rental vehicle? It took them a good, week and a half before they actually agreed and got me a rental vehicle. But then the insurance adjuster came out and evaluated my truck, totaled it. And then the insurance adjuster for the municipal insurance made me the offer. And the day I denied the offer, they took the rental car back. Said, turn it in. You have to turn it in. And I'm like, we're not done yet. I was like, what am I supposed to do? And they didn't care. And they put me on the street. They put me back out on the street. So I had no choice. Even though they totaled my truck, I